The yards and the railway are one of the most busiest places you could ever visit. Freight trains coming in and out 24 hours, 7 days a week. Den is constantly shunting. No sooner does he arrange one train than he dashes away to quickly arrange another. Even though the steam engines that collect their trains can never see eye to eye with Den, they do appreciate the hard work he does in the yards, and before they depart, they always say thank you to the diesel shunter. Den never shows his gratitude, but secretly is pleased that the other engines recognize his sense of duty and responsibility as yard shunter. But there is one engine that couldn't care less, and that engine is John. John is very rude and isn't as well mannered as the other engines. This annoys Den, and soon the irritated diesel brings the subject of steam being forced out in favour of diesel traction. "One of these days I'll teach you a lesson," growled Den. "Oh really?" smacked John. "Well, rumour has it that you've been in serious trouble with the shedmaster. Isn't it 2 strikes and you're out?" John sniggered away, leaving Den seething with rage. But it wasn't just Den who had lost patience with the Johnson 3F. The engines at the sheds had had enough too. "He's always got an opinion," snorted William. "John is a troublemaker," sighed Babs. "He's as bad as William and Den put together." "Yes, well, thank you, Babs." "He's got a right gob on him," grumbled Terry. "Sooner or later someone's going to make a right fool of him." All the engines agreed, but none of them knew when or how. All sorts of goods trains arrive and depart the yards. There are mineral wagons, box vans, container trains, tankers, flatbeds, all coupled together, heading to faraway destinations. But there is always one train that Den prepares that is always secretive. Not too far away is a military base. A lot of items go up there that are only handled by Richard and Roger. Like their train, they keep everything a secret and never breathe a word to anyone of what they are hauling. "What is it this time?" everyone would ask. The reply would always be, "If we told you, then we'd have to scrap you." The only engine that did know was Den. Sometimes it would be military equipment under strict instructions from the government to handle with care, or it would be something small such as tools, medicine and food, but even that was handled with great care. John was immensely jealous and tried everything to take the train. He'd purposefully back down onto the train. "I don't think so, mate," huffed Richard. "Haven't you learnt your lesson from last time you did that?" John, who always got caught out, would roll crossly away. He would get annoyed when something big and important would be loaded onto the train. "It's not fair," complained John. "I deserve to pull that train." Den enjoyed teasing him about it. "Of course you do. Tell you what, why don't you let me scrap you and then you could be turned into ammunition for the military? You wouldn't be missing out then," grinned Den smugly. "Oh, shut up," snapped John. He watched sulkily as Roger steamed away. Two weeks later, and it had rained hard non-stop. The engines were feeling miserable. They didn't want to leave their sheds. "Whatever happened to all the sun?" whined William. "The British summer. It's my favourite day of the year." At last the rain stopped, and the engines all gave a sigh of relief, but it wouldn't last long. The shedmaster hurried into the sheds. "Richard and Roger," he called, "you must hurry to the yards. A water drain has burst with all the rain and has flooded the yards. Den is running low on fuel and needs your help." "Why can't John do it?" asked Roger. "We've got the military train to take in half an hour." "John is smaller than you two. His firebox is closer to the water line than yours will be," explained the shedmaster. "Please hurry along. We haven't got any time to lose." John's face lit up as the twins slunk crossly away. "Excuse me, sir. May I be of assistance?" smiled John smarmily. "Oh, here we go," muttered Terry. "I could take the military train whilst Richard and Roger helped Den." The shedmaster hesitated at first, but since Terry and William were to leave soon for their own trains, the shedmaster had no choice. "As soon as the flood water has drained away, you may proceed to the yard," said the shedmaster at last. John felt very pleased with himself. Terry and William said nothing. Finally the flood water had receded, but there were still lots of wagons to organize. Den had just completed the military train when John steamed in. "Finally a proper engine on a proper train," boasted John. Richard and Roger were not at all impressed. "When I return I'll be reeking of gunpowder and smelling of the battlefield." The twins rolled their eyes as John made a spirited departure. "Well, we'll never hear the end of this," grumbled Roger. "You'll be talking about it for weeks," grunted Richard. Den chuckled quietly. "Wouldn't be so sure." The twins looked and noticed the last van of the train. A fish van could be seen clear as day next to the brake van. "The rest of the vans are the same but aren't carrying a fish logo, so no villains are tempted to contaminate the food for the military," explained Den. Richard and Roger were beside themselves with laughter. "Some secretive military train that is," chortled Richard. "Well done, Den," cheered Roger. "Wait until everyone hears about this." Den felt very satisfied and rolled triumphantly away. When John returned, he was very quiet and very cross. He hoped no one had noticed what his secret military train had been. He was wrong. "Do you smell that?" sniffed Richard. "Smell what?" answered Roger sweetly. "The stench of gunpowder and smelling of the battlefield." "You must be mistaken, Richard. All I smell is fish fingers." All the engines burst into a fit of laughter, whilst John remained in a stubborn silence. The Johnson 3F had finally had the comeuppance he deserved, and all the engines of Euston had Den to thank.